as you guys are watching this video right now, we are only a week and 1 day away from the launch of Black Ops Cold War. I absolutely cannot wait for this. For those that don't know, my channel as a whole is built around watching streams, watching scrims, breaking it down for people so they can understand the map and the rotations and why one team beat another. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you do so, because my guess would be starting next Friday, these guys will be already streaming their scrims, trying to get the lay of the land in terms of some of these hardpoint maps and how they work and control and what bomb sites are dominant and which ones aren't. And I can't wait for that to happen. So if you're interested in some really analytical breakdown of competitive Call of Duty, this is the spot for it. But with all of that said, in today's video, I really do want to take a peek at the pros that haven't quite found a home yet. Sure, maybe some people are linked to being in a sub on a pro roster, or some of these names have actually been linked to some challengers rosters. But when you look at this list, I think you'll be pretty surprised at just the level of talent that doesn't quite have a roster spot yet. And really, that's what happens, right? The biggest thing, the biggest detriment from the league going from 5v5 to 4v4, I think overall the league is going to play much better. The game, Call of Duty as a whole, plays much better in a 4v4 scenario than a 5v5 scenario. But the biggest offset of that is that now all of a sudden you're going from 60 professional players to 48 professional players. And I mean, even at the end of last year, there was so much talent in the challenger scene and on substitute rosters. So now you take the 12 players that are left over from being cut from their previous rosters, you add it to the talent that was already out there. You've got a lot of talent that's sitting on the bench. So this post comes from Petrovinator on the competitive COD subreddit. And this is a list of pros or substitutes from the first year of the CDL that will be substitutes heading into our second year. And I just want you guys to look at some of these names, right? So at the top, you have Aqua. Obviously, Aqua's been around the scene a long time. He didn't quite have the best year in Modern Warfare, but I would expect him to probably be on a bench or a challengers team somewhere. That would be my initial guess. After that, Slacked. This might be, I mean, there's a couple, but this is one of the most surprising names on this list, at least for a substitute spot. You figured Slacked would have a home by now, but he doesn't. We'll see what happens, but that's a really interesting one. Aches didn't quite make it, maybe like halfway through the year in the first year in the CDL. My thoughts initially is that Aches' career is probably over. I wouldn't be shocked if he announces his retirement. I could definitely see him around the scene in some sort of a GM role, but I'm not sure that there's much left in the competitive field for him. Lacefield and Saints, two names that are linked together pretty often, and those two both don't have a home. Again, these are two players that did have a home LAG towards the end of last year, and of course they were replaced by some of those young guns that came into LAG halfway through the year. And as this has progressed, they still don't have a home. Another surprising one is GodRx. Obviously, we know GodRx spent last year with the Minnesota Rocker. This is an interesting call because after the first 2 or 3 LAN events that he played in, a lot of people were thinking this guy has the potential to be league MVP. Then the pandemic hit, everything went online, his stats dropped across all game modes. He ended up getting benched for Exceed, heading into Call of Duty Champs, and the rest is history. But GodRx is one it's a little bit interesting to see him not with a team as of right now. Next one on here, and these are names that have kind of been linked together, but as of late, there are some counter arguments going on. So we have Kismet, we have Pander, we have Proto. Also, one name that's not on here is Mox. At one point in time, a collection of the people that we just talked about had been rumored to be the roster for the Paris Legion. Now, since then, it's changed a little bit. Now, the latest is that the Twins are going to go there, so are Scraps and Wuskin's going to be there. Those are also names that aren't on here. I think he said at the top that Scraps and Wuskins and Temp are 3 names that aren't on here just because you figure those guys are so talented, they're probably going to find a home somewhere. But after that, you have Enable. Enable's not all that surprising considering he got dropped at the end of the 5v5 season for Pander. So Enable without a home, but that's probably to be expected. We have Mayhem, we have Brack, we have Lucky, we have Journey. So those guys, a couple of those, substitutes for the Toronto Ultra last year. That's the way it is, right? Last year you had more starting spots, you had more substitute spots, so more people had a home. That's just not what's happening at the moment. The next one, Zed, Shox, and Luca. Obviously, those are 3 parts, 3 of the 5 roster spots that were on the Paris Legion last year. Paris went from like April until basically the end of the year without winning a single map. Of course, they did get a little bit better at champs in the tournament before that, but Shox, Luca, Zed, I don't know if there's a home from them. Hopefully we can expand and have more teams and these guys can have another chance, because at the beginning of the year, Paris was like in that top 4 discussion when we were still on LAN, and then it all just fell off. After that, we have Frosty. We know Frosty left the Call of Duty scene as a whole. I think he might have seen the writing on the wall. I'm not sure that there was a spot for him anyways, but Frosty is out. Chino is out, obviously. He got a little bit of play time with OGLA last year. Now, Chino is on the LAG roster, so he's at least got a spot in the new LAG going into next year. We'll see what happens there. But Rated, Blast, Decimate, Spart, a lot of these guys were those that took over for LAG in the Modern Warfare season. Didn't quite go much better for them, so they don't have a home yet. Censor, right? I don't think anybody expected him to really have a home. Tish, and then General, obviously he's going to somehow work out in that hex sphere that's going on. I don't know if it'll just be a content creator or if he'll get a sub spot, but I'm sure Hex isn't going to just kick him out to the curb, so I'm sure he'll be doing something. Hollow and Draza. Now, Draza does have a sub spot with that OGLA squad. We don't know if he's going to be starting, but he does have a substitute spot. And then Hollow is one that came in for OGLA, played really well towards the end of the year. He also doesn't have a spot. And then Jerd is the last one. If you remember from the beginning of Modern Warfare, Jerd spent the first 4-5-ish events somewhere in there on that Royal Raven squad. Then he ended up getting dropped and nobody picked him up after that. But the whole point of this video is that there are so many people that were in the league last year that just don't quite have a spot yet, right? Whether it's a substitute spot or a starting spot, the starting spots are basically already taken. I mean, there's not much leeway there to begin with, and the leeway that was there has already been filled by people that didn't have a squad last year. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad to see. My guess would be all of these pros will be playing in the challenger scene next year, so that'll be super competitive. The starting rosters for the CDL will be super competitive, which makes it really tough. We did a video on Monday breaking down and ranking the teams and where I predict them to be at the start of the season. That's what makes it so tough, is that each of these rosters are just packed with talent. So there's not as big of discrepancies this year as there might have been last year heading into the CDL. But if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, we are a week and 1 day away from the launch of Black Ops Cold War. I can't wait to start doing scrim analysis, put it out to you guys, let you see who really is the best team heading into the first event of Black Ops Cold War. But with that, thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Any comments on the players we talked about today, put them down below. Make sure you leave a like. And with that, thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.